Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Diary of a Cocaine Addict. I am your host, Sarah Ibrahim, the Recovery Witch. And I am here to bring you a show that is straight from the heart, actually, as all of my shows are. And this is actually one of my superpowers, is what I've realized, is to be able to speak from the heart and to use that to be able to help other people to connect dots for themselves in a different way, to create different meanings out of things that maybe have always been the same to them, and to help them to see things slightly differently. I realized as I've gone along this speaking journey that actually my voice holds a lot of power, in the sense that I am giving the messages that I need to share, and that people seem to pay attention, which is really, really awesome. And why it's so important to me to make sure that I remain in integrity and deliver messages that are real. Okay. So, whilst my focus is always on positive things and things that you can use to help yourself with, if you've got an addiction or if you've had an addiction and you want to start to create something from the chaos that was your life, I'm your girl, right? But I'm not here to sugarcoat stuff. Okay, I'm not here to just say, hey, it's all sunshine and lollipops, you go into recovery and everything's fine, and you live an extraordinary life. Yes, all that's true, but there are days that are not amazing on the journey too. There are days that feel painful and uncomfortable and struggle. The struggle is real, okay? And I can't end broadcast, Steve, because you are the host. Sorry, just having a few tech issues here. Um, sorry, I love to share the struggles as well, because what that does is shows other people that they're not the only ones that are going through it. It shows them that it's safe to have a bad day, and not just that, to be able to express it and therefore call in the help and the support that they need in that moment. And this is exactly what happened for me this week, which is why it's so important that I want to share it today. Okay, so what happened? There's a bunch of stuff that happened, actually. So it started off last Friday. I had an energy alchemy session with one of my mentors, and what that brought up for me was that I have secretly been blaming my parents for my drug addiction. Now, this is huge. Okay. Those of you that follow me regularly will know that I am a recovery coach. I help people with this stuff, and to suddenly discover that I'm harboring this secret resentment towards my parents, like blaming them for my own addiction, was a huge shocker to me. And it took a moment to reconcile that in myself and to be okay with the fact that that is a truth, right? Now, it's not the truth. Yeah. The truth is that it's my own actions, my own behaviors. It was my own coping mechanism. I am responsible for that. That's the truth. But a truth is that I blame them, right? And this is not fair, because it's not their fault. It's my own, as we've said, right? And it's not about fault and apportioning blame anyway, but for the purposes of making this a coherent conversation where we use words that we all understand, let's stick with that for a moment, okay? So I suddenly had this epiphany last Friday, and God, let me tell you, it felt heavy. It felt heavy. It felt painful. It felt ugly. It felt shameful. It felt hard, and it felt bleak, and it put me on my ass for 3 days, right? Like literally over the weekend, last weekend. Saturday, I was exhausted, and I mean exhausted. Sunday, I was absolutely drained, wiped out, couldn't do anything. And into Monday, even, I felt the same. And I knew that it was having these feelings coming up for me that was the cause of this exhaustion, right? My physical body was giving me headaches. My physical body was, I had a cough. I've had one for 2 weeks, actually. And every time I tried to sit down to journal on what was coming up for me, some distraction would happen, or I'd have a coughing fit, or I'd want a sandwich like really urgently. And I was able to recognize, okay, all of this stuff is coming up because your body is colluding with you that this is too painful to face. This is too much. You don't really want to do it. So let's have some illness instead, right? And I was just like, come on, Sarah, you've got to do this. You've got to do this, right? So my mentor had said to me, like, this stuff is coming up for you because it's ready to be healed. It's ready to be released. Now, what it triggered in me actually was a shit ton of anger. Okay. I was raging. I was absolutely raging. And so what I was told was write down all the things that you're angry about, Sarah. Well, this was what took me 3 days to come up with because I couldn't even face the thought of sitting down to do it. Right. My body was just like, no, you're too tired. No, you've got a headache. No, you feel rough. Whatever. Excuse, excuse, excuse. Because I didn't want to face the emotional pain of writing this list. Eventually on day 3, I got to writing the list. Let me tell you this. The list is 3 pages of A4, okay, of all the things that I'm angry with my parents about. Now, my dad died 22 years ago for a start. So, you know, it is what it is, okay? And I was shocked. I was shocked and I was so sad. I was so sad for that girl, i.e., me, who is harboring all of this anger and frustration and resentment, who wasn't even aware of it, right? And what happens when we're not aware is that it just festers away inside of us and it convinces us that it's the truth. And, you know, our feelings and our emotions are not designed to stay in our bodies, right? This is what causes us with dis-ease, which can manifest as disease, right? I truly believe that and I've seen it. And so holding all of these feelings, I was just like, oh dear God, like, where do I start with releasing this? How do I become okay with feeling this way and then move into a place of compassion, not just for myself, but for my parents? Because the truth is, we're all victims of victims, yeah? They've done their best with me. None of this is about like, oh my God, they were shit parents and la. It's not that, yeah? They've done their best with me based on what they were shown, on the cultural values that they were brought up with, on the environment and the conditioning that they were brought up with. Now, my dad was from Egypt, okay, so a very different culture, very different background, very different upbringing from what my mum had as a pure English rose, okay. So that their two cultures were brought together and it was a mishmash of both, which is how me and my sisters and my brother were brought up, right? Again, they were doing their best with what they had. Now, for me, on the end of it, how to articulate this? Give me the words. Give me the words. For me, experiencing it, at times there were things that I didn't understand. Okay. So, for example, my dad would keep going away throughout my childhood. Okay. My dad would go to Egypt for what he said was 2 weeks and he would emerge 6 months later. Right. Now, little Sarah, who was 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever I was at the time, didn't understand why her dad kept going away. Yeah. And furthermore, why he didn't come back when he said he was going to. So she started to create this story. Well, he doesn't love you. You're not lovable. You must be really annoying because he keeps leaving. He doesn't want to be here with you. Yeah. You can't trust people to stick around when you need them. This was the story that I started to create. Yeah. And I felt abandoned. Now, I didn't recognize that until just a year ago. Okay. Or even this year, I didn't recognize I felt abandoned by this behavior that my dad was exhibiting. Yeah. Into my teens, we found out my dad had actually married somebody else on one of these trips abroad when I was about 14 or 15. And, you know, at that time, there were 4 of us here in the UK of his children. One of them was only, you know, a small child. And again, it reinforced the story. You're unlovable. It doesn't matter what you want. You know, it used to break my heart when he would go. And I would speak to him on the phone and be like, when are you coming back? Or when are you to come back? And he didn't come back. Didn't come back till he was ready, right? And so it didn't matter what I wanted. I wasn't important. That was the story that I created in those moments, right? And that carried with me into adulthood because I then later spent my entire adult life abandoning myself because that's how I knew how to treat Sarah, right? And so having this revelation last weekend, I was just like, well, it makes sense that I blame partly my dad for that because he taught me how to abandon me. He fucking abandoned me first. Of course I was going to learn that, right? And then my mum, you know, she was never someone that I would say I could talk to, which, you know, it sounds bad, maybe, but and I do talk to her, but it's with a lot of trepidation because she's very fixed in her thinking and in her beliefs, which she's entitled to be, and this is not a judgment of her. However, as a teenager, when I was rebelling because I wasn't being seen and I wasn't being heard and I wasn't being understood, I had no safe place to go. I had no safe adult that I could talk to who wasn't going to rain down some punishment on my sorry ass, who wasn't going to, tell my mum, or who wasn't my mum who was going to punish me, or, all of these things. And because the way I think is so radically different from the way that she thinks, we have a communication issue where even yesterday I said to her, look, whenever you want me to think more like you, what you're trying to do is make me a version of you instead of making me the best version of me, right? And that's how I see it. And I get that not everything that I think is the best way to think, right? But don't try and tell me that your way is the best way to think and I should therefore think the way that you do, because that doesn't sit right with me. And this is one of my principles as a coach, as a human, as a friend, as just as a person in life, yeah, is not to try and tell people what you think is right, what you think is wrong. You should think this, you should do that. I have no right to say that to you or to anybody. And I don't believe that anybody has a right to say that to you either. Yeah. And so this is one of the key things that I lead with in my business and in my life as a personal value, is to meet people where they're at, let them be seen and heard and validated, because whatever they think, whatever they believe, it's the truth for them. Yeah. And it's not for me to question it or to try and make it into what I think it should be. Right. So I struggled through my teenage years with this rebellious behavior and constantly being on the end of some consequence of that, which of course you can expect. I was always on report or suspended from school, or going to see the school counselor. And I had a bad experience with one of the school counselors. She didn't like me and I didn't like her, and so it ended up being more damaging than it was good. And so we had this catalogue of errors basically through my life where I just felt so insignificant, so unimportant, so unheard, so unseen. I was bullied at secondary school for 2 years. And to this day, my mum will say, oh, I didn't know. And I'm just like, how could you not know? How could you not know I wasn't even going to school? Yeah, you were with me. You were coming with me to see the heads. How could you not know? I just don't get it, right? But these stories, these ways I feel like I've been let down, these ways I feel like I've been sidelined, is what feeds into my secret blaming of my parents for my drug addiction, yeah? Of course, I sought stability in my fucking life, yeah? I had no stability in my life. My parents were never together, right? My dad kept going away. When he was here, there was arguments and he was an alcoholic. And, my mum wanted us to go to church and he didn't want us to go to church, yada, 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 right? It was a very rocky road here. We were walking on eggshells a lot of the time. You never knew what mood my dad was going to be in when he was around. And he was a bit too aggressive with us at times. And I say all this with love because, God, I would never speak ill of the dead. And my dad was my best friend. I was devastated when he died, right? But this is the truth. This is the story. This is the journey that I've been on, okay? And so, of course, all these things are fed into my needs to run and hide and escape from myself, because I never believed that I was lovable. I never believed that I counted for anything. Yeah, sure, I was a high achiever. Yeah, I was a high achiever somehow. I don't even know how, because I missed a ton of school and I missed a ton of uni. Well, I always had really good jobs, even though I missed a ton of that as well. I was a high achiever. And so I kind of thought, by doing well in one area of life, or at least I would get some praise, I suppose, at least, that was something that I was doing right. And then I would do everything else wrong, quote unquote, right? And so I made this list of what I needed in my life versus what I actually got, right? And the list goes something like this, okay? What I needed was to be understood. What I got was accused and blamed and shamed. And that still goes on to this day to an extent. Yeah, like I've been clean 17 months now, and I've shared on this podcast before that sometimes things get said to me in this house where the implication is there, and there's no apology for it. It's not like, oh God, okay, yeah, no, I get that wasn't you, yeah. It's like, oh, right. And I'm like, can you not see how that might derail my recovery? Not that it's your job to keep me in recovery, yeah, but like have a little faith. That would be really, really helpful. What I needed was stability. What I got was an absent parent. What I needed was connection. What I got was a dad who we don't talk about things that have nothing to do with you. And what I got was a mum who was very dictatorial, yeah. What I got was being told how I should think and how I should feel. Right? What I got told was how I should behave and act and look and all of the things. When what I really needed was that connection, that safe space, that place where I could talk as me and maybe get some guidance from there rather than feel like I was going to be punished or put down. Right? What I needed was guidance. What I got was instructions. What I needed was to learn how to navigate my feelings, and what I got was shut down. Yeah, it wasn't safe to cry in this house. My dad wouldn't let us cry. Yeah, we don't cry. And my mum, I guess she feels uncomfortable with emotion at times. You know, even to this day, I cry. And she's like, "Oh, that's it. Go and have a good cry." And I'm like, God, it hurts. It fucking hurts because this is how I express myself. I'm a very emotional person. You can see that right now. Right. And so to be brought up like believing that it's too much, I'm too much, I'm too emotional, I'm too this, I'm too that. It's not true. It's not the truth. You're not too anything. You're perfect the way that you are. Right. What I needed was support. What I got was misunderstood. What I needed was encouragement. And what I got was judgment. What I needed was to be me. And what I got was told that I was wrong. What I needed was safety. And what I got was turbulence and uncertainty. What I needed was confidence. And what I got was trying to be forced into being this mini version of my parents rather than being the best version of me, as I said. What I needed was an outlet for my frustration. And what I got was told that I'm too emotional. And what I needed was empathy. What I got was a lecture. And what I needed was someone on my side. That's what I really needed. And what I got was punished and shamed. And all of these things are the things that I'm now angry about. Right? And I'm saying it from a place of actually having let a ton of that go in the last week. Yeah, but God, it's been a journey. And so I've had to recognize what the unhealthy patterns are and what the limiting beliefs are that were created as a result of these stories that I've told myself all these years. And the way that it's manifested in my life. Sorry, I'm feeling really snotty now. I've got a cold and now I've been crying, so that's really helpful. Is that some of the beliefs I created amongst all of that is that I need to always learn more. I need to do more. I need to be better. Yeah, haven't got enough knowledge exactly as I am to help somebody. I haven't got enough money to be able to do the things that I want to do. I've always got to have something more, be something more, do something more, learn something more. Yeah, I'm not enough as I am. Another one is that I'm not enough. It's plain and simple. I'm not enough. Hide your feelings. This is a belief that was instilled in me. Hide your feelings. It's not safe to have feelings, right? A lack of confidence was cultivated in me from never being right. Yeah. And it's not about being right or being wrong. It's about being seen. Yeah. Because you can hold space for somebody and see them, right? And understand why they feel the way that they do or have empathy for the way that they feel without making them feel wrong for it. Yeah. I felt a lot like I can't just be me or I'll be rejected. I'll be rejected. I was bullied at school. Can't be me. Be rejected. I won't fit in with the cool kids. I can't be me. Don't fit in with the family because I'm the black sheep. I can't be me. Don't fit in a church because I swear too much. I can't be me. And it plays out throughout my whole life. Yeah. Another limiting belief that I picked up through the creation of all these stories is that it's wrong or embarrassing to mess up. Right? And that's not the truth. My God, some of the greatest creations in terms of people, projects, stuff in the world has been created in the wake of someone's failure or someone's mistake or someone's cock up, right? Because these are the things that teach us. So when you're constantly mollycoddled and put in a cotton wool and wrapped up and kept safe, and you're not allowed to make your own judgments, you're not allowed to make your own mistakes or take your own journey, well, you're missing the opportunity to learn and grow, right? So instead of celebrating my failures, I'm punished and shamed and, just made to feel like a wrong un, basically. And it was horrible, right? And the final story, of course, was that I'm unlovable. I'm not worth sticking around for, and people will leave me eventually, right? People will leave me eventually. Now, listen, I get that this sounds like a bit of a sob story today, yeah? And that's absolutely not where I'm going with this, okay? I do not, in any way, shape, or form, want to garner a pity party, okay? But what I do want to do is to share that, you know what? This is real. This is how it is, okay? And these are how sometimes we can see patterns that have led into later habits or actions which don't serve us, where they've come from, right? Now, this may be helping you to see things in your own life that, okay, maybe that fed into this, maybe this fed into that, right? And this is why I wanted to share it today, okay? Because I'm very open about stuff and where I'm at, because I'm comfortable with sharing it, because I know that somebody needs to hear it. I know that our stories have power. Storytelling has been used for generations, yeah, to help people to connect dots, to give meaning to things, right? Me coming here and giving you a load of facts and figures about addiction, you're probably going to go away and forget it in 2 seconds, but a story you'll remember, right? And so I'm always sharing about, the ups and downs and everything in between, because the journey is not freaking linear. Like, it would be a lot easier if it was, but that is just not the case. And so there's a lot of peaks and there's a lot of troughs as well. Now, yesterday was one of those days. I'm going to share with you what I shared over there on Facebook. If you're not following me over there, get yourself over there, all right? What I shared yesterday on Facebook reads like this. Sometimes I truly wish I'd never given up drugs. Real talk. I said what I said. Today is one of those days when I wish I had the option of getting off my face and escaping how I feel. Because the truth is, today I'm not feeling inspiring, motivational, kind, fun, happy, or even remotely in the mood for parenting. I'm in a vile mood, despite all of the things I have to be grateful for. I'm fucked off, I'm fed up, and I'm fearful about all of the rabbits that I'm trying to pull out of hats. It seems unlikely that I'm going to achieve it, and that is feeding into this monster mood. So here's the thing. I can see all of this playing out, and I'm able to observe myself feeling pulled downwards by this spiral, and notice how these feelings are drawing me towards the desire to run and hide. And so what all that means is that there is growth happening right under my very nose, and it feels uncomfortable as fuck. And I'm not afraid to be honest about the struggle that is present in me right now. You see, I've spent years teaching myself that the way to remedy any kind of uncomfortable feeling or experience is to run, to get on it, escape. But that door is firmly closed. And so I have no option, literally, than to wade through these feelings and allow them to be processed and released naturally, instead of stuffing them down like I always have. I know this is a good thing, but it does not feel like it right now. Regardless of all of this, I will go to bed tonight with another clean day under my belt. I will not go down with this ship. I am not my addiction, and addiction is not my friend. Learning to be okay when I don't feel okay is one of the toughest ones I've hurdled in recovery. But I've done it before and I'll do it again. We can recover. We do heal, right? And I put that post out on Facebook and it was loaded with emotion. I was so angry and I was so fed up. And I just so wanted to run from myself. I was snappy and moody and irritable. I was being a terrible mum to my little boy, bless him, because I was struggling with how I felt. And how I felt didn't feel good. And because it didn't feel good, I wanted to run away because that's what I know how to do. What I didn't know how to do was to sit with it and be okay, right? But it turns out actually I did know how to do that. But it feels unnatural, okay? It feels unnatural to sit with it when you feel that way because you're not used to it, because you're used to medicating the way that we do, right? And so actually sharing that post really helped me to release a lot of the emotion that I was feeling, because sharing and healing are so closely linked, right? They're so closely linked, especially for me. I don't know if it's the same for everybody, okay? Excuse me, and my snotty self, I'm so sorry. And so I shared the truth of how I was feeling, right? And by throwing it out there to the world and releasing it from my body and putting it out into cyberspace, i.e. Facebook, I lightened the load on myself. So I immediately felt better, yeah? Now, I wasn't cured. I wasn't running around the room skipping and, singing songs. No, I wasn't. But I felt marginally better, which was huge when I'd spent 4 hours wallowing in these feelings, right? And then what happened was my phone started ringing. One of my friends called up. One of my mentors messaged me with like loads of ideas of how to start shifting through this. People started messaging me. People started commenting on my post. Yeah, that post at this moment has 125 comments on it. Yeah, and I was just like, my goodness, people actually really care. People really care. People really see the pain that I'm in, and it helps them to feel better about themselves, right? And so my pain, even though it hurts, even though it's a struggle and it weighs a ton, right, is actually serving a really powerful purpose, because it's helping so many people to find meaning in their own pain. It's helping them to feel safe, knowing they're not alone, that this struggle is not just them, there's nothing wrong with them, right? And so being able to turn that pain into such powerful purpose also helped me to move some, right? To move the needle in the direction that I wanted it to go. I also allowed myself in that moment to be able to receive the support, okay? To be willing to be vulnerable in order to receive the support, yeah? And so what happened was people sent me meditations and gave me different techniques and different ideas of ways that I could use to shift this stuff. And all of that stuff is stuff that I can then use to put into my own coaching, to put into my own repertoire to help other people with. Now, some of it is stuff that I already go through with my clients. And of course, we don't see our own blind spots, so you don't think to do it myself, right? Until someone goes, hey, why don't you write this down? And I'm like, oh, yeah. That'd be the first thing that I would tell a client to do. Why don't I write this down and get it off my chest? Now, one of my mentors, a lady who's been interviewed by me on this show before now, Jojo Ellen, she's an amazing freaking person, amazing human. I'm so blessed to know her. She taught me a technique that she called the compassion key, and it was amazing, and it just really helped me to actually just cry and to be able to just move from feeling so mad and so resentful about myself and so fearful into a place where I was just like, do you know what? I love you, and I'm sorry that you feel this way, and I'm sorry for what you've been through, but I've got you and you're okay. Right. And it was just so powerful. And it was exactly what I needed in that moment. And some of the conversations that I've had throughout the day yesterday and inside of a couple of Facebook groups that I'm part of just have really helped me to move into a space where I'm okay. And I did go to bed last night with another day clean under my belt. And today have shared another post about it saying, I recognise that yesterday was a test that was given to me to help me to learn and grow, to help me to pay it forward from a place of having been there, right? To help me to see how far that I've come, to ensure that I don't become complacent, to show me what I need to heal and to release, and also to keep me anchored in the reality that vigilance and commitment daily is essential on a recovery journey. And finally, to help me to cultivate compassion and kindness for myself. Now, I realise that I've covered a lot of stuff today during this show, okay? And hopefully it's made some sort of coherent sense. I want to thank you for allowing me to process and to heal in this space. And this is what works for me, is to share, because it does help me to connect my own dots in a different way. It allows me to see myself and to validate myself and to cultivate the energy of and the spirit of wanting to help others, right? Because that's really what all this is about. Yeah, that I just want to help other people that have also struggled with anything that I've said today, right? Other people that have struggled with addiction, feeling like that there's no other way to handle what's on their plate other than to run and hide. I get it. I get it. I really, really get it. And that's what I bring to my coaching, right? A big heart. A heart that's here to serve. And if I can help you, I absolutely will. Okay? I'm going to need to go because I can't even breathe. But thank you so much for joining me today. If this has resonated with you in any way, if you want to get in touch with me, please do go ahead and do so. You will get no judgment from me, okay? And anything said to me is confidential. You can reach me at therecoverywitch2911@gmail.com, or you can find me on Facebook, okay? Find me on Facebook, type in The Recovery Witch, you're going to find me. I'm there on YouTube, all of the platforms, okay? You're going to find me. I trust that you can lead yourself into my inbox should you want to do that, all right? Much love, one and all. This has been Diary of a Cocaine Addict. Thank you so much. Adios.